Dwayne Johnson, the towering force of wrestling and cinema, ranks among the all-time greats, not only in America, but across the globe. He turned the swagger and lightning bolt charisma of The Rock into a cultural earthquake, landing hits like Fast Five, Jumanji, and Moana in millions of hearts and engraving his name into worldwide entertainment. From a blue-collar wrestling lineage, he started with just $7 in his pocket and built himself into a blazing emblem of discipline, grit, and strength. He didn't merely impact sports and film, he redefined the climb from nothing, writing his version of the American dream in sweat and perseverance. With relentless drive and a commanding presence, he became a living emblem of resilience and power, proof that greatness can rise from shadows deep enough to crush almost anyone. For decades, he wasn't just an entertainer, he was the narrative, a man who turned wounds into muscle and refused to yield even when life forced him down. But beyond the spotlight lies a harsher battleground. A dearest friend lost in the ring, 4 knee surgeries, multiple operations on his abdomen and back, scars mapped everywhere, plus a marriage that fell apart and a father-son ache that didn't heal even after death. His beloved mother's life has teetered too, from serious illness to a near-fatal crash. Each strike cut deep, reminding everyone that even giants bleed. And now, at 53, while the world still sees a bright smiling titan, his body carries old injuries, and his soul still carries loss. The storms never really stopped. The world applauded for years, but few stared straight at the unforgiving truth behind the muscle and the fame, shadows so stark that even a billion-dollar empire can't wipe them away. If his journey ever lifted you in a dark moment or pushed you to stand up again, tap like, a small salute to the extraordinary soul named Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Imagine a boy returning home with his mother to find an eviction notice nailed hard to the front door. No bed. No shelter, no certainty, only quiet and a mother's tears. That boy was Dwayne Douglas Johnson long before Hollywood's lights or a roaring arena. His childhood was cut from poverty and sacrifice, with hurts deep enough to break him before fame ever learned his name. He was born on May 2nd, 1972 in Hayward, California, an only child carrying the hopes of a family already worn by struggle. His father, Rocky Johnson, was a groundbreaking professional wrestler, one of the first black champions in WWE, a symbol of strength and history in motion. But away from the ring, money was thin, and the job often paid in applause more than in stability. Weeks became months on the road. Paychecks disappeared as quickly as they arrived. His mother, Ata Maivia, daughter of the proud Samoan wrestling dynasty of High Chief Peter Maivia, fought the daily war at home, stretching each dollar, cleaning houses, borrowing from relatives, doing whatever it took to keep food on the table. The Johnsons never stayed grounded. From New Zealand to Hawaii, from North Carolina to Connecticut, and eventually Pennsylvania, they moved like nomads, hauling boxes and never growing roots. For a boy who craved steadiness, each move felt like the floor dropping out. Dwayne was always the new kid, stepping into rooms of unfamiliar faces and whispers. Poverty stuck to him like a shadow, one that muscles couldn't shake. Then came 1986. At 14, everything fractured. Endless travel had turned his father into a stranger at home. Arguments multiplied until love dissolved into silence and separation. The divorce shattered what little stability remained. That same year, Dwayne and his mother found that eviction notice on the door. Their car was gone, repossessed in the same week, as if fate had decided to strip them to the bone. In a single swing, the house, the vehicle, security, and pride disappeared. They had nothing, not even a bed. That night, they leaned on the kindness of Ada's parents, carrying a heavy weight of humiliation. "I was evicted at 14, Dwayne later said. "I'll never forget my mom's eyes." He swore then to change their story, but poverty doesn't just empty pockets, it buries itself in your spirit. He was big for his age and hard to miss, which only sparked conflict. Expelled from 4 schools, he fought, drifted toward the wrong crowd in Waikiki, and by 16 admitted, "I was arrested multiple times. I was angry, lost, and on the wrong path." At home, tension lingered. He and his mother both carrying wounds too heavy to name. He loved her fiercely, and every tear in her eyes burned more than any punch. Even so, something unbreakable was forming. He saw his father's ruthless discipline, even if their bond remained scarred until Rocky's death decades later. He saw his mother's relentless sacrifice, her willingness to endure embarrassment to keep him fed. Those became his inheritance, the family legacy that mattered. He never forgot one night, sitting with his mother after losing their home, staring at a street that kept moving while they had nowhere to go. He was 14 and life had already cracked him. But those cracks became seams where resilience took root. Every eviction, every fight, every tear became fuel. Football looked like the ladder out. At the University of Miami, he chased a dream big enough to pay back every hungry night. In 1991, he watched from the sidelines as the Hurricanes won the national title, the stadium erupting, while his own dream frayed at the edges. Sharing a position with Warren Sapp meant the spotlight rarely found him. 4 years passed mostly on the bench. His GPA slid so low he almost lost his scholarship. By 1995, he graduated without an NFL contract, just a broken promise to himself. With few choices left, he crossed into Canada, clinging to a slim deal with the Calgary Stampeders. The pay $250 a week. He crammed into a small apartment with 2 teammates. His bed, a stained mattress on the floor. Dinner, instant noodles. Hunger gnawed every night. What little he had, he sent to his wife, Danny Garcia, believing love mattered more than comfort, though love couldn't warm cold walls or ease the hurt of watching others move ahead. Then came the moment that stripped everything away. Cut from the team, back injured in ways that would haunt him for years. He rode home in silence with his father. Somewhere on that drive, he opened his wallet. $7. That was all. Those $7 weren't just cash. They were a mark of how completely life had flattened him. No team, no future. No dream, but quitting wasn't an option. Wrestling was in his blood. His father had lived it. His grandfather had lived it. His uncles had shed sweat and blood for it. Dwayne turned to the family legacy and asked his father to train him. In 1996, under the name Rocky Maivia, he walked into WWF smiling, carrying 2 great surnames, and the audience attacked. Boos, jeers, die, Rocky die. For a young man already singed by failure, the humiliation cut deeper than any hit. Some nights he thought about vanishing. Instead, he reinvented. He ditched the grin and became The Rock, bold, abrasive, electrifying. The fans didn't want me, he recalled. I learned to own the hate and use it as fuel. Boos turned to roars. Shame flipped to hysteria. $7 became an empire, brick by brick, scar by scar. The man once mocked became a force, rewriting what resilience can look like. By the late 1990s, the kid who once read eviction notices was now the people's champion. One raised eyebrow could detonate an arena. His catchphrases circled the globe. Between 1998 and 2002, he captured the WWE Championship multiple times, carving his name into the sport's core. To the world, he seemed untouchable. Inside, he was exhausted. Greatness devours everything. Wrestling wasn't a job. It was a crucible. 300 days a year on the road, stadiums at night, dawn flights, hotels that all looked the same. Birthdays slipped by, holidays blurred. He phoned home from airports more than he hugged his family in person. His knees throbbed. His back remembered every bump. Pain was constant. Loyalty demanded a smile anyway. In wrestling, you perform through pain because pain never goes away, he said. The Rock never snapped. Dwayne carried the cracks. Next stop, Hollywood. In 2001, a quick appearance in The Mummy Returns hinted at bigger things. A year later, the Scorpion King broke records. $5 million for his first lead role, a Guinness World Record then. A triumph, yet the shadows came along. Critics scoffed, just a wrestler chasing acting. Would audiences see beyond muscle? He fought again, training his voice, sharpening craft, risking ridicule in comedies, dramas, and family films. Some titles stumbled. Others flew. The Rundown, 2003, and Walking Tall, 2004, proved his pull. He refused every box. He built patiently and relentlessly. By the 2010s, he wasn't a wrestler trying to act. He was Hollywood's most bankable star. Fast 5 2011 supercharged a franchise into a billion-dollar juggernaut. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, 2017 had global crowds laughing. Moana 2016 etched his voice into childhoods everywhere. And in 2016, Forbes crowned him the highest paid actor in the world. It was surreal, he said, but I was still that kid with $7. From the outside, he looked unstoppable. Wrestling, film, fame, fortune. But Mountain air is thin. The lights blind. Red carpets demand smiles. Sharp suits cover scars. The cheers whisper the price. Broken bones, lonely rooms, and the fear that if applause stopped tomorrow, he'd again be the boy with $7 and nowhere to sleep. He stood on a peak, and peaks are volcanic, glorious, burning. All was close to eruption. The rock didn't crack. Dwayne carried the fissures and kept climbing. Then tragedy branded his heart. On May 23, 1991, backstage in Kansas City, he laced his boots at 27. Riding high in WWE, his friend, his brother Owen Hart, 34, a husband and father, was minutes from a big entrance. The harness failed. Owen fell 70 FT into the ring. The shock sucked the air from 20,000 people. Silence louder than any roar. From the curtain, The Rock felt his chest collapse. Medics rushed in. He wanted to run to Owen, to shield him, to shout that this was no show. But stepping out risked making it look staged. He stood in the shadows as life slipped away. Then came the cruel order. Keep the show going. Minutes later, his music hit. He walked the ramp with a breaking heart. It was the hardest match I ever wrestled, he said. Every cheer felt empty. Every move felt wrong. He returned. He smiled. He performed. Inside he shattered. Owen's death etched a wound that never healed, a reminder that even giants grieve. Public life brought other brawls. 2010, at 38, the first true stumble, Tooth Fairy. It made $112 million globally, but became a punchline, and to Dwayne, a humiliation. I had to change agents. I had to take control. The sting wasn't money, it was pride. In 2016, at 44, with Fast and Furious roaring, new fractures formed. On Fast and Furious 8, long days became longer silences. Then that August post. Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't. No names, but the subtext pointed to Vin Diesel. Headlines screamed feud of the decade. Fans split. Reports said scenes were shot apart, scripts tweaked, so the stars wouldn't overlap. A franchise built on family fractured behind the camera. We had differences in philosophy, he later said. Softer words, same scar. Success doesn't quiet ego, it amplifies it. Then came the hardest professional hit, Black Adam. His passion project promised to change DC's hierarchy. With a budget near $260 million and billion-level expectations, it opened in October 2022 when he was 50. Reviews landed lukewarm. The box office underdelivered. Analysts estimated losses between $80 and $100 million. Headlines asked whether his star had dimmed. For him, it was more than dollars. It touched the core of what he'd built. As always, he converted failure into schooling. Tooth Fairy forced him to seize control. The Diesel rift taught humility. Black Adam showed that even billion-dollar names face rejection. He kept rising at 4 a.m. to train, kept showing up, kept building, kept parenting, kept smiling through pain. Real greatness isn't about never falling. It's the ability to stand up again and again. His love story reflects the same truth. On May 3, 1997, after years of sacrifice, he married Dani Garcia. He was 25, she 29, a modest ceremony full of hope. On August 14, 2001, their daughter Simone Alexandra Johnson arrived. The greatest day of my life, he said. Dani was more than a spouse. She was strategist and steady hand, managing home and early career while building her own. They rose together from overdue bills to red carpets. But success demanded everything. Tours and shoots devoured time. The dinner table chair sat empty too often. By 2007, the cracks were visible. In June 2008, the divorce was final. 11 years married, 17 years together, over. The hardest part was telling my daughter, he said. Simone was 7. He'd sworn never to repeat his childhood pain, yet there he was, hearing his little girl ask why. Dani later said, "We tried, but sometimes love can't stretch far enough." They chose a rare path, no tabloid war. Assets divided, Simone chiefly with her mother, and Dwayne present in every way. More, they stayed allies. Danny became a core business partner, co-founding ventures that grew into empires. The marriage ended. The loyalty remained. He met Lauren Hashian on the Game Plan in 2006. Steady, calm, quietly luminous. Their beginning wasn't fireworks. It was small, steady acts, coffee after late shoots, whispered plans on red-eye flights, script reads with kids nearby. They built on presence. When Jasmine was born in 2015, complications nearly turned joy to nightmare. He stood in a hospital hallway, so often the on-screen hero, now powerless, whispering for her to breathe. "It was the scariest moment of my life," he said. When Tiana arrived 3 years later, that old fear returned. Those nights remade him. In 2019, they married in Hawaii, barefoot at the shore. Not for show, but to formalize a promise already kept. Show up every day. He rebuilt his schedule, training before dawn, defending family time, saying no when projects stole it. Their marriage doesn't erase the past. It repairs what can be repaired and honors what cannot. His parents' shadows still frame the story. Rocky Johnson, trailblazer and paradox, present in the ring, often distant at home, died suddenly on January 15, 2020, at 75 from a blood clot. For fans, an era ended. For Dwayne, old conversations reopened. "You broke barriers. I wish I had one more chance to say thank you. One more chance to say I love you." His mother, Ada, the survivor, has stared down illness, and in February 2023, a brutal car crash. The front end was mangled beyond recognition, the kind of wreck that often ends in tragedy. She walked away, shaken, bruised, alive. "She's a survivor in ways that make angels and miracles very real," he wrote. Between regret and gratitude spins the core of his heart. His body shows the receipts. 4 knee surgeries. At WrestleMania 29, under 70,000 fans, his abdomen and groin tore mid-match. He finished, then rushed into emergency hernia surgery. His spine has been under the knife. Herniated discs sent pain burning down his legs, a rebuilt shoulder. A torn Achilles, an injury that ends many careers. Each scar is a signature, and pain is not just physical. In 1995, at 23, when the NFL dream collapsed, depression wrapped tight. "I didn't want to do a thing. I was crying constantly." 13 years later, in 2008, the darkness returned with his divorce. He chose to talk openly. Depression never discriminates. You're not alone. In that honesty, the indestructible Rock became Dwayne, human and vulnerable, and a lifeline to many. Now, at 53, he is both monumental and mortal. To the world, still the Rock. Underneath, a father, husband, and son who knows how thin the line is between triumph and tragedy. His net worth hovers near $800 million, decades of grind in a single number. His $27.8 million Beverly Park home in Los Angeles spans over 17,600 square feet, sweeping staircases, soaring ceilings, chandeliers like constellations, immaculate lawns, and a poolscape with indoor and outdoor pools, a theater, a pro-grade gym echoing his iron paradise, and a private music studio once used by Van Halen. Yet what makes it home are the small moments. Jasmine and Tiana sprinting across marble, Lauren's voice in the hall. Family dinners in a house that will never see an eviction notice. He once owned a 46-acre equestrian estate in Powder Springs, Georgia, with a French country-style mansion and a 12-horse stable, sold in 2025. And he keeps a Virginia farm where mornings move slower and steadier. His garage is pure passion. A Rolls-Royce Cullinan, a LaFerrari, a McLaren 650C, a Lamborghini Aventador Sevillota, and a Pagani Huayra, plus a beloved armored Ford F-150. When roads won't do, there's a Gulfstream G650 valued at over $65 million, a sanctuary in the sky, sometimes full of family, sometimes just him and the horizon. And wealth also means building. Teremana Tequila, valued in the billions. Zoa Energy, Project Rock with Under Armour, Papatui Skincare, and a stake in the UFL, born from his desire to give athletes second chances. In January 2024, he joined the board of TKO Group, parent of WWE and UFC, a full-circle return, now from the boardroom. Discipline is the spine of it all. Old injuries still murmur. He trains at 4 or 5 a.m. in an iron paradise that travels with him. nearly 50,000 wallaby of equipment, his refuge for body and mind. The diet stays tight. Cheat days are legendary. Polynesian ink across chest and arm, Samoan symbols, declare heritage, resilience, and spirit. What matters most now is the inner circle. His eldest, Simone, now 23, performs in WWE as Ava Raine, the first fourth-generation wrestler in history. He beams with pride, fully aware of the ring's weight. In 2025, he steps back into the spotlight with the Smashing Machine, a role demanding both power and soul, and returns to WWE sparingly but decisively as the final boss at WrestleMania 40. Disney readies a live-action Moana for 2026, reconnecting him to ancestral stories. Off-screen, through the Dwayne Johnson Rock Foundation, he's given millions to at-risk youth programs, children's hospitals, and veterans. He's granted hundreds of Make-A-Wish dreams, visited young fans in treatment, and quietly funded food banks and disaster relief. For him, philanthropy isn't a headline. It's a promise kept to the 14-year-old who watched his mother cry at an empty doorway. Fame, fortune, power. He has them. What makes today extraordinary is the humility with which he holds them. He knows each mansion, each car, each headline is fragile. What lasts are early mornings before sunrise, evenings tucking his girls into bed, calls where he still tells his mother she's his greatest survivor. His life in 2025 proves that even after every storm, a man rises not because he's unbreakable, but because he learns, again and again, how to rebuild. He is the boy who had $7, the man who built an empire, the father building a home. That arc is the real victory, not the roar of arenas or the billions in the bank, but the steady resilience of a soul that won't quit. So the world calls him the Rock. What we truly see is Dwayne Douglas Johnson, a man who turned scars into strength and wounds into wisdom. If his journey ever lifted you when life tried to break you, honor him with a like. A tribute to the truth he lives. Even giants bleed, and even legends can teach us how to heal.